Hey everyone,
Howdy, we're back again.
we're going live with our dear friends, Bek and Liz.
From WOWLife Melbourne West.
WOWLife Melbourne West. That's got such a beautiful ring to it, right? So we're just going to wait for them to hop on. And we can't wait to be...
Here we go.
It's happening. Oh my... Okay, it's happening. This is awesome.
Here we are. The Melbourners, they're coming on. Sydney and Melbourne.
Hello.
Yay! Got you. Oh my gosh.
Bek,
It's
how are
happening.
you?
After all
Oh
these
my gosh.
technical difficulties.
We're just going to move our camera back a little bit. Okay.
Sorry. I'm gonna.
Hello. Okay, so
Here we go.
awesome.
Yeah, just set this up, guys. It's
Yeah,
doing
awesome.
that. Not
Perfect.
really
We can see you both now. Yeah,
You know what? We've got it working.
it's happening. This is awesome. It's half an hour late, but we got there in the end, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, you guys. It's still the perfect time. It's still the perfect time to be having this conversation. So
I can't believe we tried. We went from trying to use Zoom and then going to using Facebook
we tried
Live
a few modalities, but we're here. So
on the PC, and now we're back to what we know best.
and it's happening. So yeah, So we're just going to we want to know well, we know so much about you guys already, but we cannot wait for you guys to share on this platform a little bit more about yourselves and what's been happening, because there's been amazing things happening down there in Melbourne town with you guys, with the launch of Melbourne West. That's WOWLife Melbourne West. That's happening next week. So we're going to be chatting a little bit around that. But to start off with, you are dear WOWLife family to us, and WOWLife is family, right? There's such a beautiful connection in WOWLife community, between us all. And so why don't we start with this, you guys? Tell us a little bit, because I don't even think we know this. How did you guys get to be a part of WOW community?
Wow. Well, geez, let's rewind a few years. I think, for myself, it all kind of, I'll do the short version, was, I was following a wonderful speaker, Justin Abraham, and I guess, I was quite refreshed by his really beautiful and personal relationship with Jesus and his revelations about God. And I just found it to be fresh, it's like having something artificial all your life. I'm not saying it was artificial, but it's like that.
Yeah.
And then tasting the real thing. And anyway, so there was a conversation that led to, in time, a conversation that Justin Abraham had with Kirby. And I remember being glued to this guy, just going, who is this person? And he just spoke with so much conviction. I believed him. And there was something really powerful. And so I started listening to a video. And then I remember the second time I sat down with my husband in the Melbourne lockdowns, the famous Melbourne lockdowns.
Yeah.
And I just felt this thing in my heart, which was kind of strange for me. And it was like a big seared, when a cow gets seared with a stamp, that kind of, or the cigarette thing in school ground. And
Yeah.
and I it's kind of like I felt it in my heart. And and I just heard the words, "This is your brother." And I was like, whoa. And I remember it was just crap. Okay, this is confronting. And found a family. Yeah.
Wow. So was that 2020 back?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
The year of vision.
Oh gosh, it was the same for us. Like 20, you're so right. The year of vision, like, well, and what about you, Liz? How did you come into our community?
Yeah, thanks. Fairly similar, because Beck and I, especially then, saw a lot of each other or talked to each other a lot. Didn't see much at that stage, but a few years before that, I had stumbled somehow across this breatharian thing, and there was this fellow, Kirby Delanarole, who I didn't know from anything, with long hair and that, and under breatharian, the happy breatharian, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, and but I didn't have the space or interest at that time to kind of pursue it, to kind of delve in, and that was good. A few years later, I was very, because I was watching similar stuff with Beck, and then my brother was down living with me, and he started talking about a little bit about like mystics, and I said, oh, I have a bit of trouble with that, with Christianity, because I've studied cults and all the sorts of things in the past, radar and all that sort of thing. But it was so I had a call, like I thought, a little bit of fear, but when I listened, when I actually listened, I thought, oh, that's that guy again, because I would have watched the same thing Beck watched, and that's that guy again. I thought, and it was just this like, wow, like, what's he, like, it was so Christ, and yet such different language. And over a short period, of time, I knew I was finding it so incredibly helpful to be listening through about Christ and living the word, and that through a language that was slightly different culture from ours, from the way we talk and frame things in our churches and that. But it was just so, it just felt like that. And since then it's kind of, well, that's how it came, it came in. And I didn't understand everything. And sometimes he would say things, I thought, oh, and then he'd say, well, you don't have to believe everything I say. You don't have to believe this. And it's like, oh, that's okay. I don't either. And I knew it. But it was so, it gave me the freedom to just watch openly, listen openly, and then later I would reflect, and just felt really easy.
Yeah.
And
That's
I felt
beautiful.
I just did, yeah.
So tell us a little bit, maybe about like your journey from then until now.
Wow. Yeah.
I know it's a long time.
It is a long
But
time. Well,
because I mean, look, here you guys are, like, literally, like, about to plant, like, WOWLife Melbourne West, and like, there's been a bit of a journey since those days. Yeah. So, like, just what's been happening? How did sort of this all come to pass?
well, I guess to define the journey, just to give it a bit of a parameter, I'm just going to frame it up like from when I started listening to starting a church, which is, those words, I'm like, whoa. But I guess so. That's the parameter I work in. I guess like how I came into WOW. I prayed years ago. Speaking of my uncle, mum's brother, LC, little clown. I remember one day we were just talking about Jesus and the Bible, and I was studying anthropology at the time, and my mind was really open, really active, really inquisitive. And I think that's definitely one of the flavours of a lot of the wowers, all the wowers actually that I know, because there's a flavour, right? And one of the things we talked about one day is he said it's absolutely vital that we discern the body. Yeah. And when he said that, I was like, what does that mean? Like, I know in English what that means, but like, what does it mean to discern the body? And I can really say the journey is actually defined on that. And I could really animate what that means. But I came, I was born and raised in a Christian family. We grew up in a Pentecostal church. I was married for 7 years and had 3 beautiful children. And I guess in that time, I started studying yoga because, things happened in life, and And, you know, I had a love and a passion for body, right? Like the actual, like this thing, right? Body. I love, you know, health. I love when people look after themselves. I love when, you know, they go to effort. I don't mean just aesthetically, like, I mean, I love you know, people achieving things, doing things. And I used to use the word temple a lot, like the temple. And I guess, you know, my journey is, you know, about, I guess, really fixated and entertaining the idea is, what if life, everything we see, what if it's actually a kingdom? Like, what if it's actually, and we're actually temples? and not just you know, ideologically. What if we actually are? What if that's real? And the way you see things, I guess, you know, my journey in WOW is, thank goodness someone came along and actually really started to animate or articulate a lot because of their experience, right? A crap load of experience. You know, through the entire church, we've come in at a growth stage, and, you know, that's what happens in the kingdom. People grow off other people's growths and growth. And I came in and I thought, these people are actually doing this, you know, like, the body is important. And I'd seen, like, there was a separation. And one of the things that yoga did for me, and I thank God for it, right? It was very much a scandalized thing. It was a scandalized thing on my life. And I would honestly ask the Lord about it all the time. Like, I'm like, God, I'll stop this if it's wrong. And I never felt this thing to leave, you know, to stop it. Anyway, and then so it's all been about, I guess my journey's been about aggregating every aspect of my life, realizing that there is no separation, that God is in all and is all one. And I think when you're able to discern the body like that, like when you're actually able to see and perceive others, and this is some of my anthropology background as well that really came and really spilled in, you know, and you see others as you, this thing that I called Christ, who was a guy on the cross, that was always somehow separate. I was told that he's always here, always with me, but somehow there was a sense of separateness, like he's another being. He's another, you know, he's not really, he is, but he's not. And I guess, you know, for me now, I guess it's that maturing, and there's more to come, but that's that maturing of the Christ, and that's what's got me hooked more than anything.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's beautiful, Bek. And
So good.
that really is, you know, part of the like WOWLife word, isn't it? It's de-scandalizing things that the church has scandalized, you know, and that's where the freedom lays, and that's where the freedom has, I think, laid for so many of us. It's coming out of this kind of church, you know, traditional church environment into a WOW environment that's extremely intelligent, that's word-based, that's science-based. And, you know, the marriage between those two, between the word and the science, you know, the factual science and the word of God, you know, allows us to explore, you know, things that perhaps we weren't allowed to explore, weren't given permission to explore in past church environments, you know. And I think one thing that, like Bek, what's Bek from Help Without Borders?
Bek Mill, yeah.
Bek Mill says, and I love that this, like, you know, referring to Justin Abraham, she says, like, all Christians listen to Justin Abraham undercover anyhow, you know, because there's like this thing where, you know, you're not allowed to listen to so-and-so and you can't listen to so-and-so, but like there's this real curiosity, you know, and there's this real intrigue around, you know, the body and mystical Christianity, you know, and yeah, and I think that's something that as WOW, you know, we get to kind of explore and being given permission to explore. And that's where the freedom comes, as you shared, Bek, you know, with your yoga. and the temple and everything. And Liz, do you want to share, what would you like to share around like your journey of, you know, to where you are now?
Yeah, thank you. Perhaps just to add a little bit, from me, is that what I observed along the way as I was really, kind of. I almost want to say enchanted, but you can be enchanted by God when it's the real thing. It's like, via a person and people. I just kept, when I had questions, I kept myself open because my life wasn't working. Okay, it looked like it was working, and there were parts working, and I'm not unintelligent, and I do research things and all that sort of thing, and but I always felt inadequate but there were things just not working in my life, and I wasn't happy. I didn't have joy and that sort of thing. So I knew everything. Of course, no one knows. But you have the answers and all that. But it wasn't making me a better person and a nicer person and that sort of thing. And I saw this. What I kept seeing was fruit. Every time questions came up in me, I just thought, well, I know the simple answer to this is, what's the fruit like? What's the fruit like? And I just saw fruit everywhere, falling off the tree, not just with Kirby, and Fiona as the leaders of WOW, but through the leadership, through the other people, and fruit falling off. And I'm thinking, well, fruit's fruit, and that's that. And so, and then then I really, in the culture, all that Bek said about the Word and Christ and that was the core, because that's got to be there. Otherwise, the culture isn't it for me, But along with what Bek shared, I saw things like loyalty, actually laying your life down for someone. I know there's people who would take a bullet for me and they've never met me, without a thought. That's probably a word I shouldn't say on here, but I know that literally, and that does something for somebody who has felt extremely rejected, extremely been fragmented for a long time, and trying to get myself, and had a lot of healing, but still trying to get myself together. So that meant the more than the world to me. And so the journey has been through, just so much I could say, but I encountered, I got involved in that because I needed the connection, and I wanted the connection. I wanted to be accountable to people again, and that not just, because I've been single for a long time and running my own thing for a long time. And so I wanted to be part of something and draw that out of myself, because I don't like letting people down. I knew if I was involved, I would be inclined not to let them down. So it was a way of playing games with my mind to help myself. But along that I found a culture that was just from the top and down, I just thought, who am I to you? Why am I so important? Why am I so loved? Why am I so appreciated? Why are you like, I'm not used to this. I just kept saying for a couple of years, even recently, I maybe haven't verbalized it, but it's like, I'm not used to this. It's like, this is so new, being really loved as an individual. No one's scared of who I am or could be. It's like, crap, that's incredible. They're not scared of what I might come out with or who I might be. It's like, so what, And I remember something that was said right at the very early on in one of our in a coach thing, and was that, oh, we've got a lifetime. There's no hurry. And I thought, oh, we expect to be in community for a lifetime. Like, oh, aren't you supposed to split? Isn't that inevitable? These subconscious patterns of strife and irreconcilable stuff and that. And, and I've been through divorce and that. And that whole pillar of irreconcilable, that sort of thing is just, to have that lasered through is quite a phenomenal daily thing, to carry me through all my constant self-doubts I had, and so, but it's taken me through, as I've gone along, I've just you know, I have made decisions to make these are my people.
Yeah.
And okay, I am actually, I really am connected and I do belong, because I was a bit scared, you know, that I was scared that other people would think that friends, my beautiful friends I love, who don't share the same faith as me or anything, but I was scared, honestly, that people would think, oh, she's got into something and got caught up and she's just become someone else. It's kind of like, no, I'm the same person, but I have changed identity, because I guess when you hang around in an atmosphere of Christ, you can't not change. And I've seen so much along the way that's disheartened me in myself, and as always, there's no accusation. There's no condemnation. It's kind of like, so you see the ugly parts. For me, this is very big. You know, see the ugly parts, and see this and the frustrations and that, and you know, why can't I get this right? You know, such and such right. Why can't I? You know, what's wrong with me? And there's no accusation. It's kind of like, just, you know, it's just this grace the whole way through. And anyway, I've said enough on that, but.
Wow, that is just that is just beautiful. Liz, that is gorgeous.
Thank you for sharing.
You know,
Thank you for sharing that.
I think you know, the theme is, what I'm feeling is that the more we speak about WOWLife, the more I see the theme of, it is a place that is free from the religious mindset. You know, it is free, and it's free from the religious spirit, which we call the religious mindset. But it's also, I remember when we were traveling, like around Australia for a whole year, and we were literally pulled out of you know, the church culture, the I guess the system, you know, that we're sort of used to, you know, and how things are, and, you know, and all. It's like this it's a mindset, and it's set. and when we were pulled out of that, as we were traveling, God just started speaking to me about the two problems that we see, that exist in the body of Christ in Australia, and that was the religious spirit and the spirit of mammon, being connected to the financial system of the world, which literally puts everyone under pressure, that you need to, you know, it's all about, I guess, it's all about the material things, you know, and so, you know, and it's all about this materialism and whatnot, and it's this worldliness that comes into the church as well, that we see a lot. So it's not just the religious spirit, but it's this you know, this thing, which I guess I would call, you know, connected to the spirit of mammon. And so I just think, as we were traveling and we were just listening to Kirby speak, you know, we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is like, it was just inside, was like, this is not what we have known before. This is free from the religious spirit. There is no religious like mindset whatsoever. It's freedom. It's true freedom, and so not connected to so not held by the things of this world. Because, you know, as believers, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. You know, and I thought, this is the most heavenly voice that I've heard coming on the earth, you know, ever before, through WOWLife Church. There was this stream that was flowing, and it's so connected. It so reminded me of, because I used to listen to a lot of people that used to go into heaven, like testimonies of people that would go into heaven and they'd come back, you know, and some people be there for like hours, or, you know, whatever it was, and they'll have all these experiences. And I could not get enough of them. And I remember, like, so many people would come back and say, do you know what Jesus, when I would meet Jesus and the Father, and they would be so full of joy and freedom. It helped me to see that the things that I thought that I could not do here on this earth, they said, you were always allowed to. like, you know, where did you get this idea that you could not do this, and that, and behave this way, or whatever it was? And it's so full of freedom. I think that when we get to heaven and actually hang out with the Father and with Jesus, we're going to realize it's like, how did we? What made us think that we could not do this, or that, or think this way, or do that, or say this, or act like this, or whatever it is? You know, it's just yeah. And I just yeah.
Can I throw something in?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robbie, with what you're saying, you know, there's been multiple times where I've been listening, and I've just like, I think I've just heard the real gospel for the first time.
Yeah.
Like you can't deny that. It's like, oh my God,
Yes.
this is the good news. This is the gospel.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like all my life it's been, you know, go and share the gospel, go. And it's like, but what is the gospel if it's not like, oh man, that's good news. That's amazing news. Like that's unbelievable. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And multiple times, and I've felt like suddenly, you know, like for the first time, you know, I knew the writings of Paul were amazing. But, you know, and I've sat under so much teaching about it and some amazing teaching, but it never had the life. It never had, put it this way, there's a new dimension of life. And I feel quite often like I'm just like, oh, I feel like I'm rehearing what Paul actually meant. And it's kind of amazing. And all that you've said about like, you know, and the intimacy we have with Christ, well, that's what I had in my mind, that it's so easy now for intimacy with Christ, and I have a sense of awe. I used to say on things, meetings, you know, I said a couple of times to people, I've never had a sense of awe. I can conjure it up and I can get there, but it's not in me. But, you know, to have a sense of awe of God and intimacy that is not hard, like, man, that's unbelievable. And then to see this incredible focus that, hey, this is all about bringing God's goodness and his all that you're feeling, all and much more to people, to the problems on earth, to bring his solutions. So that real, we call it the up, up, down, down.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, now I get it, you know, and that's like, my goodness. And so it animates, that up, up animates our down, down, which is why Bek and I, when we were both in a position to not looking for something extra to do, we both individually felt like we want to connect. It's time. We want to really connect with the community and at a community level. And Bek, you can, if you want to expand on that.
Oh, well, I guess, you know, I mean, guys, like we're all just thinking the same thing. Like, and this is a grouse part. Is
Grouse, mate.
I love that. It's so Melbourne. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think, you know, it's, for me, there's, okay, I'm going to say something, and this can be taken in a really religious way, but I actually don't mean it like this at all. It's, the gospel is a message of reconciliation. And for me, that is the 100% purpose of being here. And, you know, it's like that religious mindset, or what I kind of grew up with, the narrative that I grew up with is God's up there. You look up, you know, and we're talking about, you know, apparently everything good is up and everything bad is down, you know. And we're all grubby people, and, you know, there's crap going on. And, you know, if you think about, you know, your own life, I think of my own life, the fields that I'm in, the employment that I have, you know, all the different things that I'm involved in, you can see, you know, things that aren't so wholesome, right? Like things that you might call corruption or decay, or, you know, there's not signs of life, right? And to me, you know, I think that reconciliation is, you know, learning how to be, and again, just hold fire on this one, but be a good judge. You know, there's this kind of saying that says, you know, people say, oh, you know, I don't judge anything. I'm like, mate, you need to, like, how do you know the difference between a vegetable and a lolly? Like, you know, like judging is part of like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Breathing, right? And and so, but I think there's a lot of things that have been, I guess, scandalized, and we all know there's something intrinsic inside of us. Actually, I'll be straight out with this. Christ is in all things, all people. And that's why I love this message, because I'm not out to convert anyone. I don't feel like I'm a threat to anyone. I couldn't give two hoots about, you know, about, you know, someone approving of my lifestyle or approving of so-and-so. You know, for me, what I'm interested in is actually recognizing Christ in all things. And so from that, going back to that up look, you know, that kind of God's up there and we're all down here thing, it's kind of flipped now. And I've realized, you know, when Jesus went to the Father, he said to the disciples, this is beautiful, one of my favorite things. And he says, you don't realize I have to go. If I stay, and I'm filling in the gaps here, guys, like I'm totally paraphrasing, but if I stay, you're going to think you always need me physically here with you. You're not actually going to believe that you are in me. You are as me.
Yes.
And so for me, the gospel is knowing that I am him. And I feel like a scientist who's looking through a microscope and who's actually able to look at the tiniest little things and be fascinated by, like, you know, you take a microbiologist and they're looking at microbes, like they're blown away at these microbes, like, oh my gosh, I'm discovering all these things about microbes. And to me, that is what being here, that's what the gospel is. You know, when we're able to look at diversity, and I don't just mean microbiotics, like that was just a thing, but you know, looking at diversity and realizing that I have, you know, like Christ is the only begotten unique Son. And when we realize that no one, you know, this is not a conversion message, this is like, do you know Christ in you?
That's right.
And that's what I'm interested in. Like, people already talk like that, but they don't really know the framework. They don't really know the life of what that is.
Yes.
And I think, you know, that to me, that's my passion now. You know, I'm not coming here saying, hey, I know everything. Crap, man, I'm the first to admit I don't know everything. Am I ready to start a church? Heck no.
Neither will we.
No, but it's like, that's not the point. Like, can you see someone as Christ? You know, do you see them? Do you see their uniqueness? And absolutely, are you convinced that that is gold?
Yeah.
Like, are you convinced? And that's a question you can ask every day.
And that God is just, and that God is, you know, sees that person, you know, knows that person completely, the complete potential, the complete ultimate and everything, and at all scopes. And he's just, what was it you just last said? That he's just waiting with delight to see this full expression of this person come out, because with a full expression, and you know, and knowing that living light, Christ, and we're you know, it's going to be an amazing full expression. It's going to be about amazing. Yeah. So that's so you know, there's sometimes we hear about, you know, a place being a place where misfits can go and all that sort of thing, and I want to just tease that out a little bit, that, you know, there'll be some people who would love to come to church or go to a church of something, but don't want the traditional, or not, I don't mean traditional, don't want the usual kind of church framework or atmosphere or something. But but those things, that misfit doesn't really mean there's anything wrong with them. It doesn't at all. They could be like really intelligent thinking people. I love that. You know, people, they could be people who are cheesed off by religion, but they've got this kind of haunting thing that, but I know there's God, and then I might say here's the universe or something, because it's kind of a little bit confronting to think about a personal, you know, a living God, you know, and that sort of thing. But there's, so I think what Bek said was really probably very cool, you know, that,
Yeah.
and we sort of saw that and learned that early on, and we just learn it more, that, you know, that, yeah, I can see Christ in every person. Sure, it's not Christ fully formed, but he's not fully formed in me either. But that's what he wants.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing, I think, about WOWLife, you know, just the culture of WOWLife is celebrating the unique expression, you know, and that's something that we totally felt when we got actually connected into community. I think because it's one thing to listen online, which we did for a whole year when we were traveling because we weren't hooked up to social media and whatnot. So, you know, we kind of just plugged in via YouTube or whatever. And, you know, and that was one thing, and that was great because we got to learn, you know. But then it was a different thing when we came back to Sydney and got into community, which was into Bek's coach group, you know. And I think for us, something that really, really, you know, made us come alive was the unique expression was celebrated. And we had never, you know, we've been in church culture at that stage for over 20 years, you know, and we had never encountered that before, you know, and it was, and I say it's like coming out of golden, you know, the children's golden books, you know, like I liken that old paradigm to a children's golden book, you know, compared to like what we came into WOW, you know, and I think like the word started coming alive to me, you know, like I started coming alive to me, like people start like my whole like landscape totally changed, you know, my vision totally changed, you know, so, you know, being in that community that, and it's like being in those coach groups, you know, and then even going physical, you know, meeting them face to face, you know, but yeah, just the freedom, like you experience the freedom in one another to be yourself, to actually say the things that you want to say, you know, to do the things that you want to actually do, and that they're celebrated, you know, they're not frowned upon, you know. And I think like you know, Melbourne West is actually the fruit of that. You know, if you think what you're doing, like you're launching out, you know, into a physical church, you know, where people are going to come and meet, and you know, you're going to get to facilitate that as Beth and Liz. You know, it's not going to look like Bess and Robbie. It's not going to look like Kirby. You know, so just the fact that you know you're celebrated, like wow, West Melbourne is celebrated. You know, for its own unique expression and what you're going to bring to that particular community and what's needed there. You know, it's a really beautiful thing, and I know so many people are actually celebrating you. Like, you know, it's seen on like social media, you know, people are posting, reposting, and totally celebrating this beautiful, beautiful launch of WOWLife here in Australia. Like, you know, it's not in Sri Lanka. Like, you know, you watch the screen, like it's here in Oz, you know, and you know, WOWLife is reforming the church in Australia. Like, you know, it's not. It's actually happening. You know, it's WOWLife is growing. It's spreading around Oz. So, let's chat. I know we've chatted a little bit. Is there anything more to say around how is WOWLife like reforming the church in Australia? Do you want to go there a little bit, or?
Yeah, I guess, you know, if it wasn't a Reformation move, I don't think I'd be here.
Yeah, exactly.
and,
Yeah.
and I don't, you know, however you want to perceive that, I don't know. But I've learnt not to scandalise any phase of my life, and that's been exampled, and I'm grateful for every part, and that's, you know, part of the gospel of reconciliation. But I think, you know, the church being reformed, you know, this is a Reformation move, because, you know, I think it's quite clear that there is a lot of assumptions, and that's one of the I think something that grieves me a lot is when, you know, I've got, you know, beautiful friends, like, man, they're good people, you know, I love them, they're loyal, they're great people. And sometimes when it comes to church, you use the word church and they're just like, you know, and I'm like, I know what you mean. Like, I actually know why you're saying that. Or I recognize that reaction. And I guess for me, you know, it's important to have a reformation because it's so important to rid hypocrisy. And the word, if you think of the word, right, like, you know, there's a whole, you know, the teaching I won't go into, but the word, I think, you know, the church has used, I'm going to use the church as in like the church of what we know it. Okay, so quote the church. Okay, the church has used the word almost like to biblicize, you know, kind of like, you know, turn, you know, things into Bible language, or kind of turn things like almost like glorify the Bible. Am I allowed to say that? Glorify the Bible rather than being able to actually critique it like a mirror. And I open my Bible now and I look at it like a mirror. I go, if I see something judgmental, that's my heart. If I see something severe, that's my heart. You're like, this word is life, you know. And when I realize that I open it and it actually changes before my eyes, over time it's changed, right? And I open it and I see grace. And I'm like, oh my God, my reflection's changing, you know. And I hear people even, you know, it's when you realize it's a mirror, you know, that is quite a revelation. It's fascinating. And it's so important to protect that environment that people can critique it. Like, you know, the fact that, you know, Kirby had said, guys, it doesn't matter if you think the Bible is a whole heap of stories. Yeah. It's the truth. The truth is more important than fact. Yeah. The truth is more important than fact. And I know that from studying the sciences, right? Because facts change. Yeah. The truth is more important. And Jesus didn't come for the Bible. He came for the bride. Yes. And the bride are the people. You know, we're the people. And it's not just the people in WOW. It's not just people in the Pentecostal church. It's not just people in the Anglican church. It's not just people in the Greek Orthodox church. It is all of us. Yeah. And, you know, and I think, you know, for me, the Reformation move, it's really important for me to protect the environment. Like, actually, for me, I feel like a protector. More than anything, I'm a protector. And I feel like that's my job. Yeah. And I'm a defender. And I'm like, no one has to be up to speed. Yeah. That's something, it's something I've really released in myself because, you know, I am by nature a performer, right? Like I like to perform, I like to achieve. And I guess, you know, by doing what we're doing, by sharing the word, I know it's the only way I can grow. So there is an aspect of it that it's give and take. Like if you just learn and you keep it to yourself, and that's what I've been doing for a while, you know, just keeping it to myself. I did it for years. And I thought, how am I possibly going to grow if I don't share it? It only grows if you share. Yeah. And, you know, the sower sows, right? Like he's not going to grow anything by collecting seed. He can collect, you can have the biggest grain hold of seed, but if you don't let it go, you know, if it's profiting,
goes moldy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm loving hearing all these ways of how WOWLife has changed your lives. I mean, please share more. Is there any other things that you guys could share about how the WOWLife movement, this Reformation movement, has changed your lives?
Man, where do you start? If I can just fuse a little bit with what Bek said about church. Do you mind if I backtrack slightly? Is that okay?
Go for it.
You know, that's all that Bek said, and you know, and I feel the same. Dear friends and old friends, and you know, awesome people, and that. Yeah. But when people think of church, you know, this image of church, what they feel is instantly is behaviour modification, restriction, false face, putting on a false face, having to do something or say something or that's not them really, and feeling like a lowly worm.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone ever read the Richard Scarry books. They're the best kid books.
I
Lowly
haven't.
worm. But
Yeah.
who wants it? But that's how people feel, and that's the baggage, but we're looking at a new container. It's a new kind of container that's alive and just pulsing with life. But going to how the Reformation has. Can you just go through your question again, Robbie? Just so to the point.
I'm loving hearing about all these ways that the WOWLife Reformation movement has changed your lives. I just want to hear more. I'm trying to sort of draw out more of the different ways that your mindset has changed because of WOWLife.
Yeah, okay. So on top of what we've said, there's things like Reformation. I love but I speak for myself, love the idea of people coming in and they have other relationships. They have, dare I say, even another church. There's no territorialism.
Yeah.
And I know this from business. The minute you become territorial is when you cut off life. I know that. I've always observed that, and it's just like it's not worth fighting for territory.
Yeah.
And so it's what I feel is I just feel a lot of soft edges, and which is kind of new for me. And the idea, I think it's instead of sort of numbers and all that sort of thing, like not gathering, but clutching, and that I just love the idea of all the things I idealize anyway is we're not in control. We don't have to be in control. We don't have to control anyone. We don't want to control anyone. And it's like if people come and they go and they get something and they go and take it somewhere else, that's reformation.
Yeah.
That's reproduction. And so we're not concerned about the all looking good by a certain amount of numbers. Now that temptation often, will come up, can come up, but it's like, that's not the deal. It's just, that's just old, crappy patterning. It's an old little thing. It's like, oh, remember me?
Yes.
No, gone.
Yeah. It's that concept of otherness, it's that concept that, you're other. And I think, with, when you're fixed on growing something rather than allowing the word to grow. And I think that's, to me, why I say I'm more of a protector than anything else, because I just want to create the environment for people. Like, it's all here, man. Like,
so I think,
and not just on a Sunday. Like you guys, we're talking about, Mum and I starting Sunday meetings once a month now, where people get together. We've been online for a long time. We're going to kind of just quickly do a bit of a back. We've been online for a very long time, and we've realised there's something very important about meeting in person. That to do, and this, this, of course, we don't have to explain that. We've got sick of the online life pretty quickly in lockdowns, but has its limitations. But I guess creating that environment, and when you realise that what you love is the word, and if if someone's listening to this and they go, what do you mean? Like, what's this thing, the word? Like, what the heck are you talking about? It's the message of life, and life more abundantly. And when you think of it like that, there's no achievements in people. Like, I don't look at someone and go, oh, that's a tick for me. Like, I want to convert you. No. It's not about that. What do you love? Do you love the life in someone? And I think, one of the most important parts for us to grow in, I was thinking about this morning, and one of my favourite things is understanding that God is justice. Like, at the very core of who he, she, or, it is, non-gender, at the very core is justice. And I think, you know, almost, I can't think of very few people in the entire world that don't want justice, right? Like, people are very quick to argue their point, and we need to respect that. You know, we so need to respect that. We need mature people who can actually come alongside people and go, you know, we're in the same game, man. Like, and when we're talking about, you know, what Christ came for, like, there's no, he wasn't hanging on the cross going, I want to save this church, or I want to save that church, or I want to say, I like these people, I want to teach these people a lesson. No, you know, it was, the blood was for all flesh, you know, whether you like it or not, whether that's going to grate on your opinion, that's the truth, you know. And so, yeah, I guess I'll stop there.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I'm loving this. You know, I think I would love to know a little bit more about maybe your community in Melbourne there, because you guys have been going for quite some time now, and there's been about four. I guess there was four coach groups even in Melbourne at one time. Is there still four? And now you guys are there's a west side, there's a east side, there's a WOWLife there's a east side, and then you guys are also meeting all together once a month as well. So these gatherings that are you know, going from live, from the screen to face is such a beautiful thing. And I'd love to hear more about that transition and how it's been going, and just more about what's happening there in Melbourne.
Yeah, okay, so just perhaps a little bit of definition there. So we started online of necessity and loved it. And I love also parts of that and value, not just love, but value parts of that, because, you know, there were people, well, like I was isolated, and I could have been in any town in the middle of the desert, but I felt isolated. And so other people in other states, other parts of Victoria, other parts of Melbourne, and that, you know, the online, which we continue. So we've got one coach group continuing online, and with Bek and I both in that, facilitating that. And so that continues, because we've got people who aren't in our geography and kind of spread over Melbourne, not in our local geography. And we have beautiful connections and very deep love and respect and admiration for each other. And relationships, and then there's of course the physical became back, and you know, and a lot of us resist it, not necessarily because we're rebellious, but you know, not wanting to go to physical get-togethers and meetings, and you know, didn't even think of a church back then, but that it was, we weren't used to it. And Melbourne is, you know, they became used to being at home. We became used to being at home. It became patterned into us to not go out, to, you know, more than we thought, much more subconscious than we thought. And so that desire had to be rekindled, and that couldn't be forced. That's not a matter of, you know, say you should be better than, no, that's a sign of what the state people became. And I have a sense of fragility in our society that, you know, I have a lot of more positive sense as well, but I have a sense of fragility that, you know, and that's part of what we're kind of stepping forward to steward. I think, you know, and I think Bek expressed it beautifully, and I'd use the word was stewarding, is because, you know, there are needs in the community that aren't the same as in Melbourne, and that aren't the same. So in Melbourne, in physical form, we have all Melbourne monthly get-togethers together. They're church in homes, and so we travel from one side to the other depending which month, and then in between, Bek and I, and there's other things starting as well, but for localities side, we're starting in the west to bring all, you know, and this is only a start. There'll be others springing up like little, because, you know, that's how it works in WOW, you know, springing up everywhere, but we're just starting this in this region to, you know, be able to physically connect and, you know, and just like, I'd love to think that even some friends, and I know a couple might be watching, but I'd love to think they were comfortable enough to just come along and like, oh man, I just need a bit of social outside, and look, I'll put up with a bit of church with them. I don't mind. It's kind of like, it's okay. It's, you know, it's like wherever people are at. So so, you know, we've got more vision than that, but that is important. I would never diminish those needs are very real.
And the way, you know, guys, you know, there's such thing as structure, and structure is really important. You know, most of us are employed, and you know, you kind of need structure to get things done, right? And it's pretty important to have parameters and definition. But you know, we're also approaching this knowing that we're growing with it. You know, like we're not. This is not like we've achieved a certain point, we need to do something. You know, people have been saying to us in our coach group, was like, when are we going to meet one-on-one? When are we going to meet face to face? And I'm just like, like, I've got other things on my plate at the moment. But then, you know, it got to a point where there was things that I had to address in myself, and I realized, you know what, there is no right time. You know, we're always in season. If I can lend some words, you know, we're always in season, and we will grow with it. You know, and you know, it's like going into a new job, right? It's like you don't go into a job knowing what you're going to do. Like you just walk into it, and you take another step, and you take another step, and we're approaching this with real feel for our community. Like we want to hear from people and go, you know, who are you? You know, like who are our people? And you know, we already know, you know, quite a few who are coming, but as Mum mentioned before, you know, we're maintaining the online platform for those who live interstate, because you know there are some that live interstate and can't come, but it is, you know, for the local people, and and to give people a sense of connection, because you know we all know there's challenges out there, and there are challenges coming this year, and there's challenges coming, and I'm not here to, you know, say doomsday or anything, but there are challenges. It's really obvious, and we need each other, you know. And the second, you know, it is a little bit of a Western thing as well, because you know, for those who've travelled the world, you realise, you know, societies are quite different in different ways. Some are a bit more there for each other than others, and blah blah blah. And I think this is something that we need to really foster in our society, particularly, you know, after in Melbourne with our lockdowns. We really need to foster that and go, you know, guys, it is okay. You can come, you know, nothing's being forced. You know, there's a place, you know, there's a place where you can bring, you are your unique expression, and it's valued.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And really, when you think about your state, especially in Victoria, and like with now, like what you guys are like launching with your face-to-face, like it really is a time, an opportunity to rebuild. You know, like it's an opportunity to rebuild something that's authentic and real, and bring transformation, will bring solution and strategy. You know, like into your church community, but then also into your greater community as well. You know, like I think it's a very strategic time for you guys, like what you're doing like right now. You know.
So what's more? Can you give us maybe a little bit more of maybe have you got a bit more of a vision for WOWLife in Melbourne?
Yeah. Yes, and
Just
yes.
a snippet, a little snippet.
Yeah, it's we haven't unction that you know, there's a bit of an interest in the arts, and there's a bit of an interest in the arts, and there's, you know, I love the arts for many reasons. It's but, you know, another part is, you know, all historic, you know, all empires, you know, it's one of the interesting things is, you know, look at a lot of historic empires, the arts was central to their success. You know, you look at the rise and the fall of things. It's, you know, you see it in their architecture, in their paintings, in their literature. I think art is such an incredible expression, and we really shouldn't limit it. We shouldn't limit it in our minds, and in the way when someone says art, just notice the instant image that comes to your head. And it's really interesting to challenge your assumptions on things like that. Another thing is, you know, the sports, health. And you might go, how do you know this, Bek? Like, why are you saying this stuff? Because it's in the people.
Yeah.
We see it.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the word, it's in the people. So that's where I get vision from. It's, you get to know people and you start to see things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Beautiful.
it's so important not to think that you're growing on your own. Absolutely surround yourself with diversity. And, you know, you go into the forest. What is the most successful forest? It's the one with the most diverse amount of species. So, you know, it's as much as you can increase your capacity, as much as you can keep yourself interested in others and noticing those things being brought into your life, what you honor will be your blessing. And you know, what you honor will be a blessing. So when you say vision, that's what I see. I see WOWLife becoming one of the initial solutions. I'm sure there's a lot more, but it's actually redeeming people's uniqueness. There's been a lot of, you know, in our legislation and a lot of, you know, things that have come through the media and all this kind of stuff, we hear the word diversity and there's an assumption, right? Like there's an image that comes into your head, diversity. Yes. You hear things about, you know, as I mentioned before, arts, something comes into your head. You mention sports, something comes into your head. Health, something comes into your head. But what, you know, what if that was redeemed? You know, what if there was so much more than that? What if our diversity isn't even tapped into yet? And then what does that do for generations? Like, what does that do for my children? What does that do for, you know, the people around us? And I think when you realize that your garden is about to explode, you kind of want to be out there in it all the time.
Yeah.
You're going to sit back and go, I reckon there's going to be flowers. All right, I'm off.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I love that.
I love the way you put that. Yeah.
And that really is, Bek, going back to the Reformation, that's WOWLife. You know, it like just gauging our conversation, it's constantly coming back to that unique expression, honouring Christ, the unique expression in one another. And I really do believe that that's the gift that we carry as WOWLife community, that we actually carry, you know. And I think it's a very rare, beautiful thing in the body of Christ, you know, that I think many will come to see and experience and take on as their own, not model, but, you know, like way. Because one thing, saying like we're so, just what you've been sharing, we're so on the same page as that, and something that we've been sharing here in Sydney, and trying to give a framework and a language around the unique expression. Like when you come into our atmosphere, you know, you get to be you know, that you get to come as a gift, you know. Like there's this thing sometimes in church culture where it's like, oh, and it's a language which I highly dislike. It's like, it's a language that says, oh, we're going to come and check you out. You know, like people use this language, we're going to come and check you out. And I so dislike that language because it talks about separation, you know. It talks about like, you know, I'm me and you know, you guys are you, and we're just going to come and check you out. When actual fact, you're a son, you're a king, you're a gift, and you get to come and contribute into our community who you are. You know, like there's nothing that I can give you actually that is outside of Christ. You know, everything is found in Christ, in you, and you get to contribute that to our community, you know. So yeah, I love that. I love what you guys are sharing and what you're about, and yeah, we can't wait to see that unfold. And be with you guys in, like, you know, physically again soon at some stage, probably in Sri Lanka when we head there soon. But
guys, this has been so much fun. We're loving hearing these beautiful stories. We're going to wrap it up. I'd love to ask you guys if there's anything that you guys would like to finish up with, if there's any last thing that you would like to share.
Did you have anything, Bek?
No. I think I'm good. I'm actually got to hit the road soon, and I've got to go to one of my jobs. But it's been great, guys, and it's just, you know, Robbie and Vesta. I guess I will say this. You know, you guys came into my coach group, but you know, straight away, you know, I just saw you guys were amazing and fantastic, and it's just such a privilege. I'm trying to dodge cheesy language, but it's truly such a privilege to have you guys so interested in us. And I think it's one of the greatest privileges you can give anyone, is to be interested in them, and, you know, and really want to know what we're doing. I know you're not there, you know, as you know, necessarily a marketing campaign, you know, out to kind of, you know, you're actually genuinely so invested, and yeah, I know that you guys are amazing, and I just wish I could turn the tables and interview you guys. Maybe we can.
Wow, thanks, Bek. You know what? You were one of our first tastes of the WOWLife World community, and so, you know, that's part of the reason why we love you guys so much. And you know, you guys, mother and daughter team, are just like, honestly, like, you guys are just such a light down there in Melbourne, and I know that
and in Australia,
but and in the world. But as you guys are so illuminated, there are so many that are being illuminated around you guys, and the influence you have is just, I think, is way more than what you guys think, and will be in the future. So we're so excited for Melbourne, and so excited for what you guys are doing, and we'll be praying for you guys as you launch next week. And so we just bless WOWLife Melbourne West, and all of WOWLife Melbourne and all that's happening down there. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, we finally got there in the end. Apologies for the the big delay in trying to get trying to get it all happening. But yeah, just enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.